I love the fact that you started on the BU, on the product side. So what was the context for them when you were tapped up to this for this brand role? What was the context of what was going on? Why you? What what excited? And then yeah, get into the whole ingredient brand piece. What role did brand play at the time, and what the remit was.
So let's go back maybe a little bit. So for people know Intel Inside, hopefully everybody does. It was a phenomenal program. It still is. It was designed many years ago, and it was crafted because at the time, and this is if you go back to when PCs first came out, right? So there was IBM PCs, compact PCs, there was a whole bunch of PC manufacturers, as well as technology was very new to consumers. So I love this, Holly saying, don't lose track of the consumer. You can't hear, right? And this is so critical for this story. The consumer at that time, a PC was a major purchase for them. So think about, and I'll put it in this context, but it truly was like your house, your car, and then a couple of other maybe high-end things, but then a PC was right up there, right?
Yeah,
it was
a big deal
purchase.
To get one. Yeah.
It was a big deal to get one, and people didn't understand the technology. Technology was not at the what I call magic phase, where I think it kind of sits right now. Right? Everybody just assumes it works. How does it work? Nobody cares. It's just magic, right? My iPhone works well, right? Whatever it does, it just does. But that wasn't the case. So having all of this technology, having consumers go, wait a minute, this is a big purchase. I don't really understand all of these things. Gigahertz, RAM, right? Cache, like I don't know what hard drive. I don't know what any of this really means and what's important. So we had a very smart branding person who came up with Intel Inside and said, hey, what we're going to do is say to the world, meaning consumers, if you see an Intel Inside label on your PC, you know that Intel has worked with that manufacturer to deliver a high quality product that you can trust and that will be high performance. And it took away a lot of the angst from a consumer level because they could then look and go, oh, well, this one has Intel Inside. Intel has done something. Intel's the brain of my PC. It's going to be high performance, but there's going to be some quality and reliability. And Intel worked a lot with the manufacturers, and they still do to this day, to make sure that Intel-based PCs are really top-notch. And I say that not as a commercial for everybody to go buy an Intel PC, which everybody should, but there's just a lot of ecosystem work that goes in that Intel provides that underlying or helping supportive technology. So that came out, and I think from a consumer perspective, it was spot on because it took away this technology fog, and it just made it very clear, just choose Intel Inside. So it got people focused in on what's inside the PC, right? Ingredient brand, which, as we all know, well, at least because it's been my world, ingredient branding is really hard, and having to make consumers care about what's inside something is really difficult. This came at the right time where we could kind of cut through that whole technology fog and get people aligned with it.
Merlin, I have to interrupt because I have a burning question. How did you get people to care about Intel as being the sort of signatory on this, to say, if Intel is like a good housekeeping stamp of approval, well, we know what good housekeeping stands for. And so that, it was sort of, by proxy, we agree, then that this is greenlit. So how did you get people to care that Intel was the arbiter?
Yeah, great question. So it was done with a combination of what I would call three things. Direct marketing. So Intel would run their own commercials, their own ads. Intel worked with retailers to ensure that the retailer would also help us with that message. So obviously there's done with incentives, and then the manufacturer as well. So Intel Inside, while it is a label and it's a brand, it was a program that we had where for the PC manufacturers, if they did certain things and included our brand in that particular ad, they were incentivized by Intel, meaning they were given money, supportive money for that. So the amount of money and the bucket of funds that they had to pick from or pull from were based on how many sales they had. So they got a percentage of sales. So if PC manufacturer A sold this many, we would give them, hey, in this bucket, you get 8% of that, for example. It's not the right numbers, but you can get the point. And then they could, when they were doing ads, if they included us in that ad and did a couple of things, they could pull from that bucket of money that was kind of set aside for them. So it was really kind of powerful because at every touch point then, if you think about it, direct advertising, so Intel going out and saying these messages, hey, Intel stands for quality, reliability, and performance. When you go to buy a PC and you start doing research on it and looking at the different PC manufacturers, you again then get that same, here's Intel inside, this is what the message, a message would be in that ad about Intel. And then when you went to the retailer, you'd hear the same thing again. So it really was this trifecta. I mean, we call it the funnel, right? But it really was a full funnel approach from awareness all the way down to, desire to actually demand gen, right? Happening where we were at every touch point. Mm-hmm. Again, it's marketing 101, but it was done well. And it was done with strategy and purpose at each one of those phases. So that's where I think it really became a success. And it's interesting I know many of us talk about, well, how much money should I do in brand versus demand gen, right? That's the age-old question, right? How much money? Because, gosh, everybody wants me to put it down in demand gen because I can show a real strong ROI, but I don't know about the brand stuff. But if you think about the example that I just gave you, that model would have fallen apart because if Intel wasn't doing those direct messages and getting that awareness out to really kick off everything, then you're really only getting two legs of the stool at the end. And you wanted consumers to go in with a mindset to understand Intel, at least at whatever degree. When they saw a PC manufacturer ad, it was a reinforcement. When they went into the retailer, it was another reinforcement. So there, it really does matter. By the way, I don't have the magic answer for brand versus demand, and I know it goes back and forth. I'm sure. You have to do both. It's just now what percentage do you give